Back here with Kenjon Barner, Richard Johnson. Let's welcome in 24/7 Sports college football analyst Brad Crawford, here to look ahead to the new top 25, the new poll released on Sunday. Brad, you saw what happened with Florida. It was an absolute mess against the Bulls. How far does Florida fall in the rankings?
Yeah, I think Florida falls out of the top 15, probably falls in the low 20s. USF's going to have to be inside the top 25 for me, likely 17 or 18 spot. I think USF is now the G5 favorite after going to the Swamp and winning, man. Undisciplined action again from the Gators. We saw that last season. DJ Lagway, not the star quarterback we thought he'd be thus far in 2025. And where is this great offensive line that we were told about all summer in Gainesville? It did not push a G5 program off the line of scrimmage tonight, and that's why they got beat at home.
Brad, you're nicer than I am. Low 20s. Get these guys up out the top 25. Florida may not even be
out of the top 25.
Yeah, out of the top 25.
And you're a Florida grad.
They may be.
Wow.
They may not even be in my others receiving votes. You're a 17.5-point favorite at home, and you just lost. You don't deserve to be in the top 25, in my opinion, if that's the performance you're going to put out there. It's the worst loss that any of these top 25 teams have taken.
I'm not so sure of that. I think Arizona State's loss is far worse.
I think Florida's loss is miles worse than Arizona State's loss.
Here's why I say that. Florida plays in the SEC. Florida has 5 top 25 games left on their schedule. Arizona plays in the Big 12. The Big 12 is not a respected conference like that. We've seen that last year when it came to voting time. So Arizona State has very minimum room to make up for their loss today, whereas if Florida goes on a run, they're right back in the conversation for the college football playoff.
Yeah, if they go on a late run and they have something like a South Carolina season last year where they get hot towards the end,
and they'll still get left out of the playoff.
I don't know what they put out today. I don't think that team gets hot like South Carolina gets hot.
Look, there was a path.
Yes.
There was a path for a 3-loss Florida team to get to the playoff, but I think that path ended tonight against an unranked USF squad. That was a bad loss.
Brad, one question though: what if USF, play this out for me.
Yeah.
What if USF becomes basically Boise last year and they're sitting there with maybe one loss, but they're your American champion and they're the group of 5 entrant? Would, just theoretically, Florida with 3 losses, 2 or 3 losses, and one of those losses being a really good one to that hypothetical USF, would that not help them?
Yeah, if I'm a Gator fan right now, I'm rooting for Alex Golesh in the
We're big Bulls fans now in Gainesville.
And Florida plays Miami in a couple weeks. USF's got Miami next week. So Miami can really dictate Florida's remaining season if they're able to, beat USF or the other way around. So, yeah, if I'm Billy Napier, I'm rooting hard for the other team that beat me tonight.
Yeah, we're feeling bullish about USF, and shouts to our Emery Hunt, whose best bet was taking the points with South Florida. So also, I know Brad's had quite the score sheet as well. Oklahoma wins on the score sheet, ranked on ranked matchup against Michigan. Sooners entered 18th in the nation. Brad, how does Oklahoma stack up against the rest of the country, and how high do the Sooners jump in the rankings come Sunday?
Oklahoma is a team that I think can shoot into that top 12. I still think Clemson likely is the number 12 team in Sunday's AP poll, but I do like Oklahoma to get more votes in that category. This was a signature win for Brent Venables, one that he desperately needed at home. I thought Bryce Underwood, the true freshman 5-star from Michigan, played well. But, man, you see why Oklahoma pushed all their resources to the center of the table and got John Mateer in the offseason. Just a heck of a game with his arm on the ground. Really made plays down the stretch for the Sooners. You see the schedule there, too. Oklahoma is likely going to be 5-0 when they play Texas October 11th, as long as they beat Auburn here in a couple weeks. Then you're talking about one of those dark horse SEC playoff teams, maybe outside of that elite tier, which is Texas and Georgia. So Oklahoma's a team that, if the stock price is still at a reasonable level, go ahead and buy it now.
Yeah, OU, I think, moves up. I don't know that they move up into the top 10. That's probably too far, just as far as teams to jump. But squarely in the top 15, I mean, if you want to get funny with it, I didn't think Clemson had a particularly good day today against Troy.
They were trailing.
So why don't we move Clemson down just a touch, even though they won? It's not the end of the world. If you move a team down that wins, You can move a team down that has a victory, and then you move Oklahoma ahead of them, and they nestle quite comfortably, kind of that 12 to 15 range, I think, tomorrow when the AP poll comes out.
Yeah, Clemson's out of the top 10.
I don't,
with that win.
I don't disagree with that at all.
Yeah.
Focusing on this Oklahoma team, their defense, for me, is what makes them a top 10 team. Offensively, we've seen that Mateer can get it done, but that defense is out of sight. That front seven, defense wins championship, offense wins game. And when I look at this Oklahoma defense and what they put on tape today versus Michigan, there's no doubt in my mind that this team couldn't be possibly put in the top 10 after that performance.
Got a take on that?
I dig it.
Okay.
Again, I do think there's just too many teams to jump.
Right.
But they certainly played like it today.
But if there's any team they jump, it would be Clemson.
I think so.
Illinois,
yeah. Well, so Illinois.
Yeah, you have an interesting opinion on this.
Illinois is interesting because Illinois, on the scoreboard, they absolutely swamped Duke. But I think that was more about Duke's miscues than Illinois' prowess as a football team. And to me, and Brad, I'd love your take on this too. To me, the entire value proposition of Illinois this season is that, yes, they were hot coming down the stretch last year, but they have an easy schedule once they get past Duke. They basically have Indiana's schedule from last year. They play Ohio State and then they play Indiana, and that's pretty much it for the rest of their slate. So I think some of them being ranked so high in the preseason poll was because people were projecting that would be right around where they could end up because their schedule was so easy.
I can tell you, Brett Bielema is not going to care that this was an ugly win in Durham. I mean, he doesn't care what the box score says. They still had a 40-piece in a true road environment against a Power 5 conference in the ACC. So Illinois, you're right, Richard. I mean, this was a game that they needed to have. I think a 10-2 finish gets Illinois in the playoff, regardless of where they finish in the Big Ten standings. And it's a game they had to have. And credit to Illinois for going on the road and getting it done despite not having an A-plus performance.
All right. Well, the College Football Playoff Selection Committee will release its first rankings on Tuesday, November 4th. Brad Crawford's going to give us his top 12 teams each and every week leading up to the CFP rankings. Brad, take us through your top 12 predictions for Sunday.
Yeah, for Sunday's AP poll, I think Ohio State is clearly the nation's top team. Jeremiah Smith had about 4 catches for 125, a couple scores today in a blowout of Grambling. I got Penn State, LSU, Miami, and Oregon in my top 5. I did slide Georgia out of my top 5. Second straight week, Georgia just wasn't all that impressive. Did have a 99-yard touchdown drive late in that game, but a couple of lost fumbles. They're just kind of going through the motions early. And then rounding out the top 12, I've got Texas, Notre Dame, South Carolina, Illinois, Florida State, and Clemson. Now, Florida State and Clemson are 2 ACC programs that I have just ahead of Oklahoma right now. Clemson's a team that I almost took out of that top 12, but I do think voters are going to respect that comeback. I mean, look, they were down 16-0 at home to Troy as a 30-point favorite. So not a game Dabo Swinney's too happy about here Saturday night.
Did I see Notre Dame 8 there? Is that what I saw there?
Yeah.
Can you explain that real quick for me, Brad? I got to push back on that.
I think Notre Dame's going to be okay. This is more of a long-term view for me.
Because they had a bye. They didn't play.
No. They had an open date. They play Texas A&M next week. Now, Marcel Reed's likely questionable for that game at quarterback for the Aggies. If they could dodge a bullet and beat A&M and get to 1-1 after that split with Miami in the opener, I still think Notre Dame can go 11-1 and get to the playoffs. So they're still an elite team in my opinion.
All right, we'll see if Brad goes 12 for 12 on Sunday. Brad Crawford here with us on CBS Sports HQ, Kenjon Barner and Richard Johnson. And let's take a look at the odds to win the national championship. Number 1, Ohio State, the favorite to run it back, followed by Georgia, Penn State, and Texas. The last school to win back-to-back natties, Georgia, in 2021 and 2022.